Aloha Spooky Nerds! Aaron here, and here we are for a little bit of Geeky Creepy Tiki Travels live stream right here on the Patreon. And I want to know who is with us, so go ahead and drop your hellos and your howdies in the comments so I know who's watching along. And so I know this kind of came together fairly quickly, but I'm excited that it did. I'm excited that you folks can join. This is really like a paranormal caught on camera, behind the scenes, ask me anything, Peacock, BTS, AMA, LOL, WTF, and more. And we've got, all right, hey, okay, we've got some folks. All right, hello. Glad you're with us right now. And like Chris, like thanks for joining. And I'm pretty certain there's Sarah Belanti. Both we've got Beth and Sarah, two Belanti sisters that are joining us, and Chris, and we got all right. Thank you, Jennifer. You're here too. Glad you're here. Man, okay, cool. We got a good little crowd that's assembling. I appreciate it. For Maine, after all, I like that. The main event. Well, so all right. We got Barb and there is Jackie. Cool. Thank you guys for joining. Well, so I was thinking a lot of times, really, the way I met a couple of you guys was really through these live tweets that we would do. We got Ivy Doom Kitty. Hey, Ivy. Good to see you. Ivy, Ivy's calendar is in the works right there. I think you could still order that, right? Check out my friend Ivy's calendar. And then also, hello, Mary. Good to see you. Okay, so typically we've been doing these live tweets, right? And on, it was Sunday nights at 9 p.m. and then Paranormal Caught on Camera moved to Friday nights. And, we're kind of missing a little bit of that live tweet experience, that community vibe. And I thought, well, let's gather here and let's have a little bit of a chat. And it's a way to kind of keep the community going. And with that said, I want you guys to ask anything, no holds barred. And hey, Michael, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. And yeah, guys, so no holds barred. You can ask anything you want. Doesn't mean I'm going to answer, but I'm going to give it a good go. But really, I was thinking I've been fortunate to be on this show since I think towards the beginning or midway through second season, and now we're filming the fourth season. But there is a perspective that I lack, which is the whole entire first season and part of that second season. I thought, if you have any questions about that, what am I going to do? I don't want to lie to you guys. So I thought there might be someone I could call on, and didn't announce this. Instead, he is a surprise special guest, and let me bring him in. Mr. Brian J. Kano.
Hey. What's going on, everybody?
Thanks for popping in. And how are you doing, Brian? You are the king of Staten Island, the paranormal king of Staten Island.
Just less tattoos.
Yeah, slightly less. And well, Brian and I were talking a little bit before we started the live stream. I'm based in Brooklyn, but right now I'm in Florida, which means I am escaping an impending snowstorm.
It's coming down. I'm looking out the window, and all I see is white. And one thing, I said to you before we started was, I feel like I'm a kid in grade school, looking out the window and hoping for a snow day tomorrow because it's winter. I want it. I don't want to have to commute into the place I go to every day. But if we get it, we're gonna play at home.
Do you have to shovel snow outside of your place?
I do. I do.
That part is because I've pretty much my entire existence in New York City. I've lived not in Staten Island, but I've lived around a couple of the other boroughs. And I've had the misfortune on a couple of occasions of having a place where I had to shovel the snow. And I hate it. I hate it. Out of any chore that I grew up with, mowing the lawn, whatever, I hate shoveling snow. It is the worst.
Well, you know what I used to do? Anytime we'd have a big snowstorm, like kind of what it seems to be shaping up tonight, I would go out maybe every hour, every 2 hours or so, and shovel a little more. Snow
Right.
would come down, I'd shovel a little more. Snow would come down because when it first snows, more often than not, it's very peaceful. It's
Yeah.
just the moon is out, it's gently coming down, and I shovel it. So by the time the morning comes, there's a mountain, but then my walkway is considerably less, so it's easier for me to get out.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good tip. Yeah. It's there's we will talk about Paranormal Caught on camera in a moment, but
Well,
I can't let this go. Like,
I see you've got someone from Maine, so compared to her, we know nothing about snow,
right.
right? So
Yeah, it's like we get like one massive like last year, the beginning of 2020, or I don't think we really got a big snowstorm, did we? Kind of
no.
escaped it. 2019, we got, I think, a couple, but 2020, we escaped it.
I feel like the last 2, 3 years we've gotten very lucky, and I mean, you could say global warming, you could say El Nino, whatever, but we
Yeah.
haven't had any real systems come through that have crippled us. So let's keep our fingers crossed that
Yeah.
it passes us by again.
Well, it
passes
is.
me by. You're down in
Yes,
Florida, so
I
you
know.
can't
Yeah.
complain.
No, it's like I've got a tiki cocktail instead. So, you know. All right. Okay. Now, is that a Halloween Horror Nights? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the shirt from that one.
Nice.
It's a great shirt, but I like those vintage style glasses. It reminds me of the old Star Wars Burger King glasses, right?
Those Burger King glasses were awesome.
Yeah, you can still pick them up occasionally at like a flea market, but yeah. Okay, Jackie is saying, and this is very much Jackie rubbing it in our faces. No snow in Oahu yet. Just gonna, Jackie.
Yeah,
not cool. Yeah, that's just, that's mean. But well, I'm super glad to have you here. It's good to see your face, and glad that we can talk a little bit about Paranormal Caught on Camera. What do you know offhand? I think the episode that just aired, was it 323 or 324?
I believe it was 323, which means we have 2 left in season 3.
Okay, 2 left in season 3.
Or is it? No, we're 26 episodes, right? So then this is always confuses me because at the end of every season, there's always a skipping. I remember last season for season 2, we premiered, I think, January 1st. They did a double episode, so it was 2 hours, thereby meaning one from the beginning of the schedule and one from the end of the production schedule got mashed together. So when we ended a week early, they said, oh no, that already aired back in January. So I always seem to be a little confused when we get to these end days.
Well, also, for anybody that doesn't know it, that's watching, so we did that kind of pseudo special episode, the OMG episode, a couple weeks back, and that was right in this time frame when we were filming, because that OMG episode was originally like our 324, right? But then we did
325, 324, 325, but it's still considered a Peacock episode.
Yeah. It's so that one, but we filmed the one that just aired or is airing this week. We filmed I think it was October 20th is when I filmed it. Does that sound about right for you?
Good question, because sometimes, like, one of them you had mentioned before about the community we used to join on Twitter, and we would gather. Well, first it was Wednesday night, then it was Sunday night, and now it's Friday night. Now it's pretty much whenever you want to watch because of Discovery Plus. But the episode would come on, and I would look at it and go, is this new? I'm not sure. I've seen all these videos before, so it's hard for me to tell.
Right. And
there's one or two very astute followers on Twitter that I would turn to and go, "Hey, did you see this before? I'm not sure. Is this new?" And they're like, "Yeah, we haven't seen this before." I'm like, "All right, all new."
Yeah, because we really go through the experience of not only are you watching it when we first get sent the clips, but then you're kind of commenting on the clips, and then this time passes and then it airs. So it is sort of this odd experience of of kind of going like reliving it, but it's this weird mindset that takes place.
And we also shoot 2 episodes at a time. So I mean, right now today, my Sunday was watching videos, and I'm jotting down my comments so that I don't forget them for this week. So like I feel like I watch them, they stay buffering in the short-term memory for a while, and then after I roll up that blue screen, it kind of purges from my head until the episode pops back on.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that. If I don't know if you guys really noticed this, but when we switched to the remote filming, the producers, I don't know how they decided this, but the producers decided half of the commenters would receive a gray back screen and half of us would receive a blue one. I really wanted blue. I'm gray. I'm apparently gray all the way. And
you're gonna lose the war. You know that.
I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. You know what? Like I've been, blue is my favorite color ever since I was a little kid. One of the few things I've got going for me is I've got blue eyes, and I'm like, all right, guys, give me the blue. Like, help my eyes pop. Nope, no blue, just gray. And there's no switching that over. We're stuck in that world.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been plaid, could have been fuchsia, could have been a grid. So blue and gray. Grass is always greener, right? Because I've got the blue screen, and when I see people with the gray, I'm like, oh, they got gray. It looks really cool. Like,
the gray is nice because you can perhaps not that the producers want us to do this, but you can double up for other things with that gray. It's easier to slide by and film other things against that gray. You don't have to comment on this.
Well, blue screen, I mean, it's a blue screen, so enter the key here.
Yeah, true. Do you, and you were saying it could be plaid. It just reminded me of Spaceballs. Like, they've gone plaid.
Very true.
Well, if you guys have any questions, throw them at us, or else we could just like chit chat about, because it's funny. I love Brian to death, but I've not seen him in person for more than a year now. It's
been the last time when we went to that bar.
Yeah, it was Northern Belle in Brooklyn. Like, it was right around Christmas. I had the Instagram pop up the memory and say, you were here a year ago. I'm like, this is insane. So this is actually kind of fun for us. Well, fun for me, hopefully fun for Brian to see me in person. Well, sort of pseudo in person.
Like Ivy Doom Kitty in the before times. Yes, in the time before the now.
Yeah, exactly. Like
this is Mad Max 3, like entirely what we're living right now.
So that means Tina Turner at any moment is going to make her appearance.
Hey, we don't need another hero.
We don't need another one.
We don't need to know the way home.
I saw that movie in a movie theater, which tells you something about how old I am. So wait, okay. So I don't know if you want to comment on this, but I posted on Instagram, I guess like a couple weeks, it was in December, about heading into season 4. I have a much needed costume change. I was wearing, when I first started the show, this heavy plaid red shirt and heavy wool blazer, because when I came in, like, I didn't know that it was a continuity thing, that they were going to keep me in that outfit the whole time. They didn't tell me that. So after doing like a season and a half or more, or whatever in that, I finally switched it up. So any breaking news, Brian, are you switching up the costume, the wardrobe?
I gotta say, I am like a cartoon character. I am essentially Shaggy in the green shirt. That's just going to, with the exception of that one season where he was in a red shirt for some reason. But when I first showed up, the very first day of filming, and ironically enough, it was on Halloween. 2018 was the first shoot, and I showed up with kind of a change because I didn't know what they wanted. They said, "Oh yeah, bring some things," and here we go. We're talking about a show where I'm going to be a commentator. I don't know everyone who's going to be on the panel, but I knew Rosemary was going to be there, so I said, "Oh, this is serious. Let me dress the part." And just as well as I do, we go to conventions, we hit the circuit. There's a definite difference between a guy on stage wearing a black t-shirt and a guy wearing something that an adult would wear. So I said, all right, normally I'm wearing a t-shirt. Let me be an adult. So I had essentially my Men in Black outfit: white shirt, black blazer, black tie, Ray-Bans on, love to the black suit. Um, and they looked at me and they're like, "Do you have anything else?" I said, "Yeah, I've got a black button down." They're like, "Wear that." So season one, I'm wearing a black button down, and then I see the premiere, and I'm like, "All right, Mark Maron has my trademark hat.
Yeah.
Everyone else, you get to wear a blazer. Everyone's looking official, and I'm just a guy in a hat." And then season two, they're like, "You can change, but wear a black shirt with a collar." So I'm wearing a black polo shirt with the little two buttons, the collar.
Mhm.
So essentially, it doesn't look like I have any other clothes. So this
Uh,
season, a black button down.
I really lobbied hard, even from the very beginning. I sent them some really nice photos of me in like a cool tiki shirt and a cool tiki hat, or like a fedora, and they're like, "Nope, no." I'm like, "It's kind of my look. Like, let me go with that now." Like, no, no. And they're like, "We kind of want you journalistic or professorial, that kind of thing." So I did that, and then when I was able to switch it up, I was like, all right, how about now? Give me a hat, give me a tee. Because I hate not like I hate my hair and I hate not wearing a hat. Like I
Derek gets to
hate
wear a hat.
Derek gets to wear a hat. Mark gets to wear a
Mark gets
hat.
to wear a hat.
Um, who
I'm sure
else?
Susan, if she wanted to accessorize,
Susan.
she could rock whatever look she wants, and
Yeah,
she
she
pulls it
just
off.
gets to get away with anything, I
Yeah.
think. But like I hate the idea. It's like my hair is fine, but when it comes to like styling it, especially when we've been doing it ourselves, it just drives me insane. So I'm trying to do it and I'm like, I just want a hat on.
Dude,
Um,
you're telling me. I mean, and I've got long hair, so God forbid there's two hairs out of place that looks wild and crazy and unkempt, and when it airs,
yeah.
I see every strand. I'm like, ugh, you
Yeah.
know.
And it really, especially since we've been filming remotely since April, um, April sounds about right, right? Like,
Yeah, April 3rd, I think was the first shoot. We did tests in March. We started shooting in April,
yeah.
and that's how it's been. Yeah, and it's
And
funny
it's,
though because you wanted to go tiki, and they made you be professorial. I wanted to be professorial, and they're like, "No, go stay back."
yeah, it is funny. It's like they have some sort of calculus, I think, in their brains because they're kind of plugging us in for different reasons, like
Well, when you joined, Ben Kissel was our comic relief, so they're like, "All right, we don't need Weird Al shirt on here just yet." Because we got the funny guy. Now
yeah,
Rachel kind of takes over that funny, humorous role a little bit. Even though she
you,
has serious things to say, she's got the sass where she's like,
yeah,
purple glasses and crazy outfit.
you do too, though, and like you get the good movie references, which
When they let
pisses
me,
me off
when
sometimes.
they
Like I
let me.
gotta say, like because there are times that we're saying the same thing, and I'm like, God, they use Brian's like
I was here first, so
No, it's true. But then there are times where you drop a movie reference and then I'm like, why did I think of that? That's such a good one. Like it's so it's not a it's a cheerleading thing, but it's also like, he beat me at the nerd game on that one.
Well, you notice I see it sometimes on Twitter where a clip will come on and we're like, oh, there's an obvious movie reference. Let's see which one of us they'll
Mhm.
use saying it. So we're like, okay. And it goes to Aaron this time, or it goes to Brian this time. Or, wow, Susan said it. This is something else.
Well, and it's funny, this episode, that the most recent episode on Discovery Plus and Travel Channel, which has the lobisomem, the werewolf from Brazil. I noticed that you mentioned on Twitter that you had done a lot of research for it,
Yeah.
and I did as well. And I thought, man, like certainly they're gonna, because I told them, I'm like, well, I lived in Brazil for a little bit of time, and like I had heard of this thing, and like so it's funny how we both approach something thinking, oh, okay, then maybe they'll use our research for this, and then
Yeah.
it goes in a different direction.
Well, I wonder sometimes. And again, I love the show. I
Oh
love
yeah,
the way
yeah,
they do it. I love what it's about. But again, like, all right, I'm making these notes so that I give them some good content. And I watch the show and I'm like, okay, oh, okay, they didn't mention that. All right, like that would have been a good bit. Oh, okay, well, they didn't use that either. Sometimes I hear my voice in Paul, the narrator's words. I'm like, I said that verbatim. So at least they're using it, like it's
Yeah.
being of use. But um,
They're
I
paying
mean,
attention to what we're saying.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me, there's a couple questions. Let me just pop these in here. Sarah has a good question. Interested in the process. Do you just send back your interpretations of the videos and they edit it for the show? Is there any other discussion?
Oh, did Aaron freeze? Am I taking over the show now? Am I the only one going? All right. Maybe it's my connection, maybe it's not. So either I'm frozen in your world or he's frozen in mine, but I guess I'll answer the question anyway. We all get all the videos to watch.
Are we? I'm back.
You're
Brian,
back.
we're back. Okay, we are back. Yes.
Did you hear
All
me
right.
talking?
I did not. So
It was weird because you were frozen to me. So I'm like, do I have to host the show now?
it was, yeah. No, I missed your response to that. So yeah, why don't you start from the beginning in case anybody else lost
Okay.
it?
Um, yeah, we all get all the videos to watch. And when you see it on TV, you'll see sometimes the same 7-second clip over and over and over again. It's like they show it, and then Paul goes, "Did you see that? Let's watch again." And you see it
Mhm.
like 5 more times. But meanwhile, maybe in that 7 seconds, we received a 28-minute clip that we had to watch the whole thing. They'll have some time codes that they want us to pay attention to, but more often than not, we watch all of it. We all comment on all of the videos, and then the producers and the editors have the thankless job of having to pick from all these great comments and make one show. And I mean, you've seen there's so many commentators on it, and there's just not enough room for all of us. We all have great things to say. This past episode, I'm like, where am I? Where's Aaron?
Mhm.
Where's Sturge? Is like, oh, there's so many of us, and yeah, we could play a drinking game on who pops up on screen when.
Well, and I will say something I really appreciate about this show and about our producers is, and it is, I'm not saying this just because I'm involved with it. I think it's such a great show for so many reasons. Um, Foremost amongst them, in my opinion, is that I think we're the only paranormal themed show out there that is really talking about things across the globe, like
Yes,
cross culturally.
yes.
Like what I've never, and both of you've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a long time. Have you ever been in a project that's like, hey, what do you know about Filipino folklore and ghosts and whatnot? Or here's a Brazilian freaking werewolf. Like,
Well, I love that. Well, it's our ghost shows. You start out, and then there'll be a spinoff, and it's international, or that
yeah,
show has to wait to season 3 to go international. Us, day one. Here's a clip from Russia. Here's a clip from Australia.
yeah.
Here's a clip from Indonesia, and yeah, it really is a global thing. And what I love seeing, and it educates me more than anything that no matter how we do it, we see people all over the planet, whatever language they speak, whatever customs they have, they're looking for answers just like we are.
And something that I've experienced, and I feel like we've exchanged some texts about this, is that there's been some times, and this sort of speaks to Sarah's question about the theme or related topics. There have been times where we'll notice something in a clip that perhaps the producers didn't know about, and that then shapes the story. Or alternatively, I can think of a couple times where I have said, like, guys, I just want to give you a heads up. Like, this is, patently, this is like an app or like a ghost app or something. This is outwardly fabricated, and I can point you in the direction of where this comes from, and they'll yank the clip. Like that has happened. Do you want to add to that, like where you've
Yeah.
actually?
Well, I mean, I'm a New York. Well, you know this. I'm a New Yorker, so I'm cynical by nature. So half
Mhm,
the clips we get, the arms crossed. I'm like, ugh. I will vent my frustration to whichever producer I'm talking to
mhm,
because I want our show to come across in the best way it can. But
yeah,
our show is not about convincing. Our show is not about, and this is what I love about the show. We have the freedom to show the clip and talk about it, whereas our other compatriots on other titles, they're the ones who captured the footage. So the onus is on them to stand behind it, to prove it, and their name is attached to it. Us, we could be like, yeah, yeah, I don't think this one is real. And then guess what? Brian doesn't show up in that clip. Or my patent move, if I don't really support a video, you will hear me talking about the theory in general,
Yeah.
the bigger scope. One clip, very famously, I think it was in season 2, maybe 1, from Gettysburg, where there's an alleged spirit that walks out in front of these cannons.
Right.
And I feel like, yeah, I feel like this was edited. I could do this in Final Cut. And it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, it's fake. Well, we didn't shoot it. Even if it is fake, you and I both know Gettysburg is very haunted, and we could speak to that.
Yeah. And I think that there is something worth putting yourself in the shoes of someone who might experience something like that, such as, well, if this were me and I saw this kind of thing, this might be what I was thinking, or this could be an approach to it. I have to say, like, the producers ask questions, but I don't think I've ever seen myself edited unfairly on this show.
We've never been taken out of context.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to report that.
Just the other day. Yeah.
One thing, and you hear this every time. I'm going to hear it again this week. No matter where the clip is from, be it a hospital, a bar, a house, a forest, the producer will ask, what would cause this place to be haunted? Can you comment on that? And we have to say the same thing every time. We're like, well, where there's people, there's ghosts and the energies and yada, yada, yada. It just becomes a round robin of which one of us they use.
I already filmed these 2 episodes that you're about to film. And it was 2 different producers on this one. It's Jill and John. And I was commenting on one clip later on in the shoot, and I was like, wait, did I already say that with you? I'm like, did I make that's, because I mean, when it comes to like theories, there's like, we each kind of have our kind of preferred theories or our thoughts about this stuff. And even though our minds may remain open, it seems like I'm like, well, this is my thought about, I don't know, witches or whatever, or I feel like we go too, we kind of bash on witches a little too easily. Like, I'll say things like that. But I'm just like, I'm pretty certain I just said this thing. They're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, well, here you go again.
Well, after 4 seasons, they're like, well, what would cause a mental institution to be haunted? I'm like, you know this. I told you this. Yeah. Episode 103, episode 112, episode 202. Look it up.
It really makes me feel... It like really makes me feel for Grant Wilson in the early days of Ghost Hunters, where he would do like an EVP stands for an electronic voice phenomena, and like where they would always have that same bite.
Disembodied voices that are captured on digital audio recording material. Well, I remember back in the days of Haunted Collector, they made us do the same thing, and I told them, I said, look, why do we have to stop down every time for this? And they're like, well, maybe someone's tuning into this episode for the first time. And my response was, well, I get it, but people are smart. They don't understand it. They'll look it up. And one of the examples that I've always cherished came from Supernatural. It's a fiction show. First episode, or maybe it's the second or third, whatever. The show was new. It's a drama. It's on the CW, so it was a pretty person show. And they're walking through a hall, and Sam goes, oh, this is, I'm getting some EMF. They're like, oh, nothing on EVP. They don't stop to go, EVP, you mean electronic voice phenomena? Yes. No. They dropped the term and they kept moving. And if you didn't know what it was on you to figure it out. And when I watched that, I said, that's pretty good. Touche, pretty people.
Yeah.
Touche.
I mean, although I guess I understand where the producers are coming from as far as you want every episode to be evergreen. Even though there are certain markers that might date it, like they try to avoid doing anything that's going to outwardly date it, I guess, or make it seem like it's not accessible. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you overall, but I understand where they're where they're coming from.
See, but things like that aren't timestamps. They
Yeah.
are basic things that if you're watching the show, there's a good chance you know what it is. And if you don't, the fact that you're watching the show means you're eager for that information. And we have this thing nowadays called the interwebs. And I think you can get information on these little handheld devices you have, or even I'm on a desktop. From time to time, it has some information.
Like, yeah, like we've got Chris just said, like, I don't know, ask Google. No, it's true. It's true. Like I can see your point on that. It's it's fascinating just the constant influx of new material, and something that we've started seeing, and in this current episodes we're seeing it as well. I think we first started like seeing TikTok videos a couple of months ago, but now we're getting such an influx of them.
A lot.
It's like, I mean, have you ever reached a point where you're like, wow, okay, we're keeping up with the times a little bit. Like it's a good thing that we're doing that.
We are. It makes me feel old now because I'm thinking I have to watch a TikTok video. I'm like, oh, these kids and their TikToks. But the interesting thing about it, and unfortunately, sometimes I fall down a rabbit hole. I'll watch the TikTok, but then I'll look at their profile to look at their other videos to see what they're about. Are they a person who would fake this? Are all their TikToks about ghosts, or is just it happened to be one that they didn't realize what was going on? And in researching that, I'll either be more impressed or less. And I think it might have been you. I think one of the producers told me that one of the people who sent in a video I was impressed with, but you caught something that was like, pull the plug, and
yeah, it was. And I don't think I'm talking out of school to share this, because it takes a village. But there was a video where the person had been saying some pretty like insensitive things about people in some of their other videos, and it was like, maybe this isn't the person that we really want to represent or be out there on the show. So
they got canceled before they ever got on.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, Tammy, thanks for coming in. Bye, Tammy. You're here. Good to see you. Yeah, there's so many people that I recognize in here. But yeah, so I mean, but it's cool to see the TikTok videos. It's also impressive that, and I think it is something fairly unique to our show, that we are turning things around pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
If we filmed this episode that's currently airing mid to end of October, and it's airing now, that is a fast turnaround.
I will say I spent yesterday working on some video. In sourcing clips and doing some voiceover and doing some editing, doing some effects, etc. I look back this morning, I said, oh man, it took me a long time. It took me 12 hours yesterday to work on a 30-second piece of footage. So think of what our editors have to do with first of all, the producers have to transcribe everything we say. And unfortunately for them, I talk en masse, so they have a lot to transcribe. And then they've got to pull out those good bits, come up with a script, come up with the stock clips, as well as the footage they're going to use. And yeah, you're right. The turnaround has been quick. And I'm sure you got the email. It's going to be every other week at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like I said, I did these next two shoots on Thursday, and already I'm kind of thinking about scheduling for next week when we have more.
I'll be doubling up. So this week I'll be doing 407 and 408, and then next week 409, 410.
Yeah. Because since we're shooting 2 episodes, we always shoot 2 episodes back to back. I know some folks spread it out a little bit more, but I just do the 2. Do you find it with that? With this schedule, do you find it the remotes harder for you than in studio?
There's things about both that I miss and I love. For instance, going into the studio, driving into Manhattan was traffic. Parking was expensive. I always got a little nervous that the Holland Tunnel might have been blocked, or, again, I don't want to be late. But when I was done, I'm like, all right, thanks guys, see ya. And I go. But now, with a camera guy, the audio guy, the makeup person. We are then the IT guy uploading at the end. I have to set up and break down everything in my apartment. So
Mhm.
I'm taking on all these tasks, but I also film in my sweatpants. So checks and balances.
Right. Well, see, there you go. You've just revealed something.
At least I'm wearing pants.
Yeah, it's more than I can say most of the time. No, I very much echo your sentiment on that. And not just is it difficult to be working the camera, doing the makeup, doing the hair, whatever. Like there is and let me say, like, I am super happy and very grateful that we can continue to film this show
Yes.
despite terrible events that continue in this world. But I do miss just the human interaction of our producers,
Yeah.
unsung heroes, Jill and Nick, and then there are a lot of other people behind the scenes, like Kevin, and now John Rubin is another newish producer on the show. But
Jill
like
and Nick
Jill
are
and Nick are
two of my favorites. They're like from season one, and Jill was the best because like in season one, we had a couple of producers who were good at their jobs but weren't
yeah.
necessarily interested in the paranormal. So when they would interview me, they never looked up. So there's like, all right, so tell me about this. What'd you see, and why could it be haunted? Jill is like, really, really? Oh, tell me about that. She's there with you. She's
She's
honestly
giving.
listening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she's
like
good to
very
bounce off of.
encouraging. Yeah, and I miss that. And like Nick is not that. Like Nick is also encouraging, but first off, he looks like John
Jack Ryan.
Krasinski. Yeah.
I
So-
said that to him once. He's like he got annoyed that I said that. And I'm like, dude, so you look like someone that pretty much half the world
Yeah,
loves.
right, exactly. But he's a bit of a smart ass, but also like very giving. And just having that producer in the room, as well as the sound guys, and as
Well, I got
well as
I got to say with Nick, I'm proud of him. He's honestly learned a lot because when I first started filming with him in season one, he came to this fresh, but now like we've honestly taught him about the paranormal. So
Mhm.
when he asks me a question, he's like, I know your answer to this, and I've thought about this too, but I have to ask it, and he'll ask it.
Yeah.
So all the times that I would give an answer, and he's like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way before. I'm like, that's what I want. That's what our show is about.
Yeah, and again, that kind of shapes where the story goes a lot of times, because the research that we put into it is then reflected in what the producer, how the producer forms that segment. It seems like.
So we're not just pretty faces.
No, definitely not for me. I am far from it. But I mean, with that, do you find, I mean, well, just there's the remotes, there's that notion, but has it impacted your research, or how the statements that you actually make on camera compared to in studio? And I'll be the first to say, like, when you're in a studio, we don't have notes around us or on us or whatever to reference. But in remotes, I mean, I admit I have a cheat sheet sometimes that I look down on. I'm like, oh, what did I think about that one? Yeah, okay, that it was that one. Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm cheating. Maybe I'm cheating on the exam. But is that different for you?
Well, in the beginning, I treated this more of as a candid interview. And when they would ask me questions, I would just give them my honest opinion. I would give them what I'd heard. But as the show went on, there's only so many times you could say the same thing. So I felt like I need to do extra research to
Mm-hmm.
bring it, to give more. I want to give more back so they have more to use. So if it's a clip that maybe I don't know too much about the topic, I'll look it up and like, yeah, I've started taking notes. And we all have our areas. So if God forbid it's in Asia, it's like, oh, they're gonna do this. All right, that's a Sapphire question. Oh, it's about something hairy. That's a Derek question.
Mm-hmm.
But I still want to be present and have
Yeah.
good answers and say, okay, well, here's my take. And now, I mean, it's a part of my preparation. I've held it up a few times, but I'm making notes for everything, and I'll stick it on the O light we've got. And my process now is when I get on with the producer, before they ask me any questions, I just go through my talk points. I'm like, here's what I've got to say. After that, you guys, whatever's left, you ask me.
See, that's funny because so when we are in studio, I didn't have notes with me.
No, I didn't.
So like at that point, it was just trying to remember what I thought about certain things, and then there's little tidbits where I don't have a great memory anyhow. Like I remember like, big overarching stuff, but if there's like a very specific little thing that I learned, it's like I want to bring that to the table, but I may not remember it if I don't have a note in front of me. So remotely, it's nice to have like those notes kind of in front of you.
I would think of it on the way home. I'd be back in the car heading down 10th Avenue, and I'm like, damn, I should have said this, or oh, now I remember what I wanted to talk about that. Hopefully someone else got to it.
Yeah. No, I very much relate to that. But see, with me, like the producers will ask like, so do you want to just dive into what you have to say, and then we'll pepper you with the questions? You want to start with the questions? And I take the opposite approach. I'm like, all right, lay the questions on me, and then if we don't get to it naturally, I'm going to add some other things. And my classic line is like, well, I have just one more thing to say, or sort of a Columbo thing, just like, well, just one more thing, like terrible Columbo. So
yours, I noticed yours is the close camera. This.
I don't intend that. It's just they don't tell me to back up.
But it's the intensity. You bring the intensity, so it's almost like you're crawling through the TV and sitting on the couch with everyone. Like, I'm going to tell you about UFOs now, and it's good. I like it. I think it's cool.
Well, except like I tried like there's stuff where I'm like, oh, you guys got to use that one, right? Like there's there's one that I won't spill the tea about one coming up, but there was one in the past that was a very Hobbit-like thing, Lord of the Rings thing, and I'm like, all right, you guys, you got to use that one. You got to use that one. Like I'm referencing Lord of the Rings. I'm referencing The Hobbit.
I'm sure.
I think you got it. Although I did get it. I got I got a Sauron. I did get a Sauron one in there.
Yes, you did. Point. Well, here's the thing, and I'm famous for this, or infamous. In Haunted Collector, I kept trying to get movie quotes in, just kind of naturally slipping them in, and I only ever got one in, and it was a Star Wars quote. Very inconspicuous and not one of the famous ones, so that got by them. But they never, as if there was a copyright on just me saying those words. But here in season 1, I got to mention Godzilla and Death Star and all these things, and they let us be ourselves. I think they almost expect it now. They're like, okay, what movie is this going to be from? I'm like, all right, here we go.
There was a Disney lyric that I don't know. I don't think it's aired yet, but where I made a sly reference to a song, and the producer who was doing it was like, "Hey, nice reference on that one." I'm like, "Damn it, you got it? You caught it?" Like, because I thought it would just slide by.
Dude, for Doomsday Caught on Camera, I kept trying to sneak song lyrics into it. So one of them was "Red Skies at Night." By the Fix. Then there's another Landslide. So I'm like, okay, we're going Stevie Nicks. Let's see. We've secretly replaced Brian's commentary with Folger's Crystals. Let's see if they notice, and I'm waiting. And that's half the fun of me watching these episodes is like, all right, what makes it by them?
Yeah. and I think they do. I think they do like it. It's just, sometimes it's better when they don't notice it and it slips by.
Last week, I forget which it was, definitely for 405 and 406. They said something, and I think it was John who said, okay, there's a reference that Aaron made. Let's see if you make the same one. And it was like the match game. So I said, he's like, I did. I did. So unfortunately, we're going to see who makes the cut. It's going to be Rachel,
I know. Because she does. Her delivery is great. It's like, Ben was like the quip machine, and now you're right. Rachel is the quip machine. She also has great insight, but she's good about delivering those like zingers. Let me throw a couple. Oh, go on.
Ben had humor because more often than not, he didn't know about and not to say he doesn't know about the topic, but he didn't know about the clip. Like he'd watch and he's like, "Hey," and so his role was the visceral reaction,
He was
not the
off the
research.
cuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and he can pull that off because he's such a comedic like force. Like
Yeah.
that's what he can do. Let me throw a couple of these questions up here. Chris has a question. What's the deepest research? This is a good question. You went down while watching videos. Is there any that stick out?
That's a good one. There's a tome that I cherish, Rosemary Ellen Guiley's The Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Spirits, and I always tell people I provide this for my apprentices. I always tell people if you have a chance, get it, buy it. You'll open a page looking for one thing, and then 2 hours later, as you choose your own adventure through all the different pages and different topics, that are like, oh, that reminds me of this, that reminds me of that. Sometimes I find myself doing that when I look up these things, and more often than not, it's for things from other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, we've been getting into the jinn a lot, and I do know a fair amount about the jinn, but I don't speak the language. So I remember for the one that just aired either this week or the last week, Bismillah, which I know is in the name of Allah. It's the first word of the Quran, but he was reciting a phrase over and over and over. So I looked it up, I taught myself how to say it. I've instantly forgotten it, but just language and customs and other things that I didn't know, especially when we get into island cultures that have different gods and pantheons, and I'm reading up on the stories and their creation myths, and then I look at the clock and go, "Oh snap! I got to get back to watching these videos."
I'm by nature just like a researcher, and I go down these research holes. So like, it's very similarly, it's not just about learning about that clip or what's said in that clip. I like to see, because I very much think that we're all connected. You know, when you talk about jinn, it makes me think of like hidden folk in other cultures, or Iceland, or like, you know, the idea of house elves is connected to so many other cultures, you know, like, so it's more like all these other cultures that have these similar concepts that emerge really fascinate me. So I like seeing the larger tapestry. And so that's something that really sucks me in. And it's probably why it takes me so long to watch all of our clips, even though, like, you know, there's inevitably maybe one that gets dropped or whatever. Like, I'm still going down and spending, like, I don't know. It's a long process.
I will admit, though, like, and again, so many of them are on YouTube. I'll watch the video, but then off to the side, it says, top 10 things you missed in The Mandalorian. I'm like, oh, what's that? So...
it's like mocking you, because the same suggestion will pop up a lot, and you're like, I don't know, I do want to watch Mark Hamill do the Harrison Ford impression again.
Yes. Fine, I'll click it. Leave alone.
And then recently it's been a lot of like, it's like recently it's a lot of like, you know, things you missed in the Cobra Kai finale. I'm like, what did I miss? I need to find out what I missed.
I didn't miss anything. Prove me wrong. Click.
Oh God.
I think today for me it was how Anakin could have stopped Order 66.
Oh yeah. The Star Wars ones are like just like the immediate, like, oh my God, those are the hardest ones to like hold off on. But then it becomes a treat, because then I'm like, all right, I'll watch this, and now I'll watch this. You know, it's like one for you, one for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I've watched 3 already, and I've jotted down some stuff. I've earned this.
Yeah,
so
it's
I'm
also like
myself.
It's also 3 a.m. and I need to film at like 9. But okay, sure, why not? Yeah, I'll watch another one of these. Tammy,
do you film in the morning or the afternoon?
It varies. Lately, I've been trying to do an 11 a.m. slot, especially if we're going to hit this kind of consistent time, because it does take me a while to film. But I've noticed, as I was jokingly texting to you, like, I've noticed around, especially right here in Florida where I'm staying right now, like at 1 p.m., it seems like that's when the plane traffic picks up. So then we're recording. Whereas when we're in a studio, it's a very tightly controlled audio environment. When we are in New York, as I was until recently, when we are, you know, here in Florida, it is like dog, UPS, plane, siren, plane, neighbors.
When you texted that to me, I thought you were doing a bit because I'm like, oh, that's from Groundhog Day. Gust of wind, car passing by, like when he was
Oh,
calling
right,
out all
yeah.
the things that were going to happen. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's seasonally either ice cream man, landscapers, other noise, but mostly it's my neighbor. My
Yeah.
neighbor.
And it's like you gain daredevil like senses when you're trying to film and be quiet. You hear everything, like every little noise, because we are our own. We are our audio guy, because
Yeah.
even though the producer is Skyped in with us, they're not hearing everything as clearly as we are hearing. And what we don't want is to blow a take or a sound bite or whatever, and either won't get used or we'll have to do pickups later on.
By
And
default, they won't use us because we have a genius quote, but 3 other people said it. It's not in their best interest to do a pickup.
right.
And for me, my apartment is little, so I've got one of those, like when you walk into the kitchen, the living room's right there, so they're kind of connected.
Mm-hmm.
I have to unplug the refrigerator because when the compressor kicks on and you get that
Yeah.
hum, so I'm rolling the dice every time I'm doing a 4-hour session of filming. I'm like, come on, freezer, don't warm up.
Yeah, it is like New York. New York sounds. And then over the summer, again, I had a very heavy outfit over the summer when we were filming, so I had to turn off the AC, and obviously I can't have a window open.
Yes.
So the breaks then were like, I'm Italian. Perhaps you can see by some of the shiny T zone right here. It's like, all right, now I got to go pat down again, guys, or I feel the sweat creeping down my back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
especially when you got this, and I'm sitting there, no AC, it's just like a box, and then I start to get annoyed. So they'll ask me, they're like, "Well, what do you think could cause a haunting in a hospital?" And I'm like, "This is why." And you could probably tell my answers get more aggressive because I just want to get it done with.
Yeah. I'll give you your ghost.
It's like, you're going to be next.
Tammy wants to know, are there some topics you'd like to see more of?
Tim Tam. That's a good question. I mean, I was originally tapped to be kind of the ghost and spirit guy, but because the show goes into cryptids, goes into ufology, I've learned so much more about those topics. I don't think there's anything that I would necessarily order up and say, yes, I'd like to have more of that, but I would just love to keep expanding my personal knowledge base. And I not only do I learn from the material, I learn from the other commentators. And I keep joking. I'm like, yeah, hey, if it's something in Asia, we're gonna tap Sapphire. But I've learned plenty from her. Lynn, forget it. Lynn, the minute she came on, I was like, I just heard the intelligence coming through. I'm like, damn,
yeah,
this lady knows what she's talking about. Yeah, bring it all on. But what I would love, and again, I would love for them to not so much tweak the format, but maybe let's do some extras, especially now that we're on Discovery Plus. Send us to a location. It's like, okay, let's maybe Aaron, me and you hit the road and we do some it's Brian and Aaron on the road, and here we are at Stonehenge, and yep, it's still here. Like, just give us some extra stuff, because there can only be so many Osborne shows on the channel.
I know, I agree.
I said it.
Like,
I
you
said
it. You went there.
I did.
And yeah, I mean, to be fair, I can't live up to Ozzy, but I will happily go to Stonehenge or anywhere. Pretty much send me anywhere. At this
I'll
point,
go down the block at this point.
Yeah, I know. Please just send me anywhere. Yeah.
Send me.
And Jackie wants to know, when you were recording in the studio, did you ever experience any paranormal events there? And did anyone ever capture it / them on video? I have an answer to this, but I'm going to let you go first. Do you have anything?
I don't think so. I mean, there was the errant things moving because of the air conditioning, and the joke always was, "Oh, it's the ghost! It's the ghost!" But I don't believe so. I think there was one time where the recording unit, their flash drive on the camera, just mysteriously zonked out. But thankfully, they had a backup on site. They're like, all right, this one just died, but we did have the secondary one. Was it ghosts? I don't know.
Mine was, I think it was one of the last things we shot in studio, and it was with Nick, I think. And you know the scene in Elf where Buddy is in the apartment and he's like, he calls his dad and he's like, you know, there's a ghost or the apartment's haunted. He's like, yeah, it's coming from that metal box in the corner and it keeps sounding like. He's like, buddy, that's the radiator. There was like that kind of sound coming from the air ducts above. But at first, like, you know, when you first hear that thing, you're like, what was that? And we had to, like, Nick stopped and we had to listen to it for a second. And then you establish that repetition. You're like, oh, that's coming from the ducts up there. That's what it is. But there was that moment where you're like, what was that? It sounds like breathing in this room. It wasn't breathing.
The call is coming from inside the house. Yeah, the call is coming from inside the house.
They would love that. They would love that if that happened. They're like, look, now we don't have to license another clip. Let's just shoot right now. We're going live.
There you go. Paranormal Caught on camera.
Live.
You and I have talked about it before. We are a seriously underutilized group of talent that we could be doing so much more fun stuff that, you know, hey, we're right here, guys, right here, you know.
Yeah. And I really would like to get all of us together in a room to chat. Like we did that group live stream over the summer, I think. Actually, I'm trying to organize another one, probably with our friends at Den of Geek, since you know, that's probably a good venue for us to gather together. But I really do like having this collection of different voices and different talents and different perspectives on things. And we really should just be together doing this.
We are a natural fit to be a live action pseudo Clue. Stick us in an old New England mansion. Stuff's gonna get weird really quickly, but it's gonna be the best kind of weird.
Yeah, it'll be funny. It'll be scary. Someone's gonna run away. Who knows who it'll be? I don't know. Well, we've got Ronnie now. Ronnie seems like a nice guy, but I don't know. Maybe he's the guy that's gonna run away. I don't know enough about him yet. Oh, he is a Bigfoot explorer.
True. He could be our Mr. Green. I'm a plant. Oh, I thought we usually called you guys a fruit. Oh, you know. Before we quote the whole movie of Clue, it just seems that there's all the different types. Obviously, Skirmin, Colonel Mustard, all the way.
Yeah. No, true. I don't know. We need to think about who each of us could be. I don't know if I want to know who I would be.
Although I did notice on the most recent boxes of Clue, their Miss Scarlet has a striking resemblance to Sapphire.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so okay, she's a natural for that. Okay, we need to commission some sort of artwork or whatever. The Paranormal Caught, get some.
I do know a few people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think we can make that happen. Well, let me throw a couple more questions at you before we wrap up. Okay, so Barb asked, even when things go back to normal, it won't be the same. I think it'll be a hybrid of styles going forward. Have you thought about that a little bit? About, like, do you think we'll ever be back in a studio doing this show?
I want to, but honestly, now they're not paying a camera guy. They're not paying a sound guy. They're not renting a studio or a makeup person. So that, I don't know where that money is going, but it's being saved. So I doubt we are ever going back to the old way.
Osborne's.
just call it Ozzy and pals watching Peacock, because pins and needles and pins.
Which is sad because, really it's truly sad because the audio people, the camera guys and women, the hair and makeup people, not only do they just make us look great, way better than I ever have any business looking, they need that work as well. I don't know what I don't know what that's going to look like moving forward. I certainly hope.
I didn't think that this, direct looking at the camera would work because, I'm an editor and filmmaker myself, so I'm uncomfortable with a staring. You're not supposed to look at the lens. You
Yeah.
look just off to the side, that documentary style, and that's what I like. But now, looking back at some of the old episodes, it feels archaic, and the way we do it now feels very fresh. So
Yeah.
I was wrong. I guess it works.
I do hope that I hope we figure out a way to merge these two things together. Let me see here. Any other questions? You guys are posting a lot of good comments. M. Taylor Jr. said submitted a doorbell camera twice and you have not heard back. When do they I can't answer that question. Do you know when they read emails or look at video?
It's a good question.
Probably
Now,
constantly.
yeah, they're probably, and think of it this way: how many people are on Earth? How many people are having these experiences? How many people watch our show and are sending it in? They get a deluge of stuff.
Mhm.
So all I would say is just be patient. Be patient.
I mean, I will say that just the way the weird little world goes now, like, I'm still being uh conscientious and not like going crazy as far as interacting with other people, but I'm able to go outside and like sit outside and like have a drink or whatever, and there are other people nearby. Um, and there have been people that like, oh, I've got a crazy ghost video or I've got a crazy thing. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, please send it in or send it to us or whatever so we can get it on there. So I think the word's definitely getting out there about footage.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, even at some points, I feel like the quality of videos that people are showing me, and again, you and I have been on the circuit for a long time. Not an event goes by when half a dozen people don't go, "Oh, I gotta show you
Mhm.
this," and they don't have it ready. They're scrolling. They're like, "Oh, wait, I gotta find it. I gotta find it," and it ends up just being like a blurry picture or from an app.
Yeah.
Now, the things that I'm seeing, I'm like, "Oh, oh, that's good. Yeah, send that in. Send that in. I would love to see that on the air."
Well, let me leave you kind of with the final question, and then I'll wrap things up. And I think this is something we've talked about before, and it's something I think about all the time. It's this weird kind of dichotomy of we want this really convincing piece of footage. However, when it's really clear and in frame, and we've got a lot of coverage as far as the camera, and it holds for several seconds, it's almost like the immediate reaction is like, nah, that's bullshit. Like, like too good to be true. But then when it's real fast and blurry and slightly out of frame and there's, corners and it's not covering the whole room, we're like, well, that's just hard to believe because it's not in, clear enough. It's not in focus and there's not enough camera coverage. This is like this like weird dichotomy. Like, where do you sit? Do you know what I'm talking about
Oh,
too, don't you?
absolutely.
Like, how do we resolve that? Like, how do you do like convincing footage, or how do we determine when it's convincing footage without dismissing it because it's too good to be true?
Well, one of the videos that I was watching today that you already shot on, that Bigfoot video where the guy's like behind a fence and behind a
Yeah.
pole and he's seeing it. I'm thinking, like, dude, well, if this was a forgery, you very cleverly self-obscured things as to not allow me to see too much. Good
Hmm.
show. But yeah, when we show those blurry videos, the shaky videos, everyone's like, "Oh, come on, it's 2020 now, 2021. We've got better things than that. We've got 4K on our phones. Why couldn't you get a clearer video?" So, all right, we show you a clear video. That, oh, it's too clear. It's a fake. It's a Photoshop. And the simple answer to this, I believe, is that we don't want it to end. We don't
Yeah.
want definitive proof because then that means the search is over. And a perfect example of this is, say, the Jack the Ripper case. I've got a couple of contacts. Actually, you know who I'm talking about too. Who says like, "Yeah, I know who Jack the Ripper is." They all do. The royal family
Hmm.
knows. Like, they know, but there's no tourism in an answer. There's
Right.
no legend. We want to keep believing. If we had the answers, there goes the mystery, and that's part of what being alive is this strive, and you hear it all the time. It's not about the destination, it's the journey. But it's true. We want to keep searching. My
Yeah.
motto is never stop searching. And if I ever found what I'm looking for, me and Bono, we just go hang out, and that would be that.
All right. Well, have you looked at all the clips for the 2 episodes you're filming next?
I'm done with 407. I haven't gotten to 408 yet.
Okay. I'm just gonna say one word, and you don't have to comment on it. But Aswang.
Yes, I saw that. I did see that. Aswang.
Yeah. Okay. Just gonna say.
Am I going to be pleased? Am I going to be?
This like fits within the kind of in the realm. I mean, maybe not exactly in the realm of what we were just talking about, but I will say it's very clear and it's extended.
That first one, I know I talk about it all the time. Like, oh, the Aswang. Like, yeah.
Actually, that first one was great.
Yes.
That first one is one of my favorites, I think, that I've commented on so far. So that one was great.
But to keep in line with my pop culture roots, when I saw the list, I saw Aswang, but the first thing I saw was Eden Prairie, which is a Mallrats reference.
That's right. It is. It's and I sadly didn't think of that and didn't comment on it in that clip. So now that's yours. Comment,
but they're not going to use it. So
what do you think? Give us a tease. What will be the line? Will it be? Trying to think. Like,
would you care for a chocolate covered pretzel? They're a little melty, but damn, they're exquisite. That kid is back on the escalator again. Let it go.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know what mine would be. Like, gosh, I don't know what my Mallrats reference would be. Certainly, it's a schooner, right?
You dumb bastard. It's not a scooter. It's a sailboat. A sailboat is a scooter, stupid head. You know what? There is no Easter Bunny. That guy down there is just a guy in a suit.
Oh, wow. You've really dug deep on your nerd knowledge on this one. We need to get Kevin Smith on this show. That's really what we need to be doing.
Man, for as many times as I tweet him, he used to be bro from Red Bank, had connections. See, the Practical Jokers are here on Staten Island. There's a connection there. I've had business dealings with him, but ever since he moved out to the coast, complete Hollywood. I'm like, oh,
he's still a good guy. He's a good guy.
Absolutely. But there's no connection. I could tweet him, but he never responds.
Yeah. Before I let you go, Brian, where can everybody say hi to you? I know you also do one of these Patreon things.
You know what's funny? When you first started, the first thing that popped in my head was, is it Patreon or Patreon? And I pronounce it sometimes both ways because I don't really know which one it is. But
I think because it's patron and Patreon.
Because Patreon and on.
The supporters of Patreon are patrons, like patron of the arts.
True. I think I say it half and half, 50-50. Jackie and Tim Tam could pretty much back me up on that.
Or is it Patron, which is like a combination of old school but also Tron.
Patron. I just discovered Tron Uprising on Disney Plus. A little more of the box that rocks. Bruce Boxleitner is Tron. I was very pleased.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, well, and we were talking a little bit. Disney Plus, like WandaVision right now is, I feel like there's a lot of like, and I think I saw you mention this on Twitter the other day. There's sort of like a lot of paranormal thoughts and theories that are stirring up, at least in my brain, while I'm watching WandaVision, and I'm thinking about alternate realities, and I'm thinking of like John Keel stuff, and I'm like, oh man, like whether they know it or not, it seems like they're dipping into that level of weirdness.
Well, everything that I've been watching lately seems to have this acknowledgement of the multiverse. Like again, Tron Uprising, the alternate world, their world. I'm watching now His Dark Materials, which I'm going gaga over. Like, this is amazing. It's these connections to these other realities, and I feel like now, just like ghosts were 15, 20 years ago, it's now becoming something that people don't go, oh, that's just fiction, and oh, maybe.
Yeah, which maybe. I do like the, as far as that goes, like, yeah, like when the reality TV genre of the current wave of paranormal reality TV started in 2004 and 2005, it was about ghosts, and then it was like, okay, ghosts, and then maybe a little side of demons, and then a lot of demons, and then slowly expanded. And now we are at this point, and I will say Paranormal Caught on Camera, like doing a whole wide array of weirdness and paranormal, which I absolutely love, talking about all of it.
So yeah, so before we get too deep down the hole, you can find me at patreon.com. like Sir Patrick Stewart, patreon.com /Brian J. Cano, and follow me on Twitter at Brian J. Cano, where I know from time to time we'll try to live tweet as best as we can, even though it's not live. We did it this Friday.
Yeah.
And yeah, come find me, come join me. I've got events coming up that you could go to my website, neverstopsearching.com, and see what's coming up. My History of the Paranormal exhibits could be rolling out with some new exhibits. I'm going to have to pull you in on one of them, and
Please.
We'll see what's going on.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. But thank you all so much for joining in on this. It was a heck of a lot of fun. And keep the conversation going, and reach out to both myself and Brian. And, we love hearing from you. So thank you guys for being here. And Brian, thank you so much for it. It was just like, even though I know we did this live stream for everybody. For me personally, I'm going to be selfish. It was great for me because it was really great talking to you and seeing you. And it just like makes my heart happy to see you, my friend.
We don't get to hang out enough, but at least now you have the excuse that you're in Florida and not just over the bridge.
That's true. That's true. A little bit further away. All right, Brian, I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys. We'll see you at the Geeky Creepy Tiki Travels Patreon. Thanks for joining.